Good afternoon. There are fears for dozens of Australian tourists right now, including children, after a catastrophic natural disaster struck in the Himalayas. At least 160 people have been killed as powerful flash flooding swept through towns near Nepal's border with Tibet. But communities in a corridor west of the capital, Kathmandu, have been impacted. A surge of water and debris, at least 9 metres high in some parts. Jacqueline Robson has the latest this lunchtime. Jackie, rescue efforts are only just beginning.
Hugh, we're starting to learn more about the 34 Australians who have been reported missing in this disaster. 15 of those Australians were reportedly on a tour with a US-based company known as Himalayan Glacier. 2 boys were listed in the group, an 11 and 14-year-old believed to be travelling with their parents. The oldest of that group is in her 60s. It's an excruciating wait as Australian authorities race to determine if they're okay. There's been 160 or so bodies pulled from the disaster zone so far, a number that will inevitably rise throughout the day. This is a popular area for hiking and trekking, but also Hindu pilgrimages. The Prime Minister says communication to the area is proving difficult.
At this point, Nepal is a developing country. Information is difficult. Now, our thoughts are with all those who will be concerned about their loved ones today.
It was essentially an inland tsunami, an ice avalanche, after a large glacier dislodged, powering this wall of mud, rock and ice through the border villages of Nepal and Tibet. Described as liquid concrete by scientists, it's wiped out buildings, buses and bridges. China has now mobilised its military to help with the massive task of rescue and recovery. India is also helping. Helicopters have been unable to land because the current conditions just won't allow it. And there are fears that there could be blockages in parts of the river system that could dislodge, pushing another flash flooding event through the region. There will be thousands displaced from this. The United Nations is sending supplies and personnel. The US is pledging money to assist. It's not clear what, if any, support Australia will provide for clean-up or recovery work. Right now, it's all about trying to locate every Australian who is known to be in the region. Tireless work from Australian authorities as the hours tick by. Hugh?
Jacqueline Robson reporting, and we'll have more coverage of the Nepal disaster later in the bulletin. Detectives in Sydney's southwest are investigating after a teenage girl was found believed to be unconscious on the side of a highway by 2 passing truck drivers early this morning. The 13-year-old was discovered on Henry Lawson Drive near the Hume Highway at Lansdowne around 1 a.m. She was rushed to hospital, with police now investigating how the girl was injured. Victorian Premier Ben Carroll has backflipped on a secret tax introduced at the beginning of last year. Victorians paid more for their public transport to help fund the controversial suburban rail loop. It was only made public in an Auditor General's report released yesterday.
I'm a Premier taking the state in a new direction. The way this charge was created and implemented, there was a lack of transparency. That is why today I'm announcing I will abolish it.
The new Premier wouldn't reveal when he was made aware of the levy, only to say he wasn't part of its creation. The war in the Middle East has cost Qantas $420 million as the national carrier reveals its profit is down. CEO Vanessa Hudson says the airline is still in a strong position, with Australians' intention to travel remaining high. Aviation editor Blake Johnson has more from Qantas HQ in Sydney.
Qantas has kept a lid on the adverse effects from the Middle East war, announcing another big profit despite taking a hit from higher fuel prices. $1.29 billion is what the airline group made after tax. That's down around $300 million. The only real speed bump was the $420 million cost of the Middle East war that made flight paths tricky and jet fuel more than twice as expensive.
We are in a strong position with our diversified portfolio, a strong balance sheet and clear momentum across the business. Demand remains resilient. Intention to travel is high.
17 new aircraft arrived last financial year, 31 are on the way this year, costing $4 billion. But out of the airline's hands, traffic controller issues at Sydney Airport that created several close calls and many delays.
The impact has been significant. We've seen 60,000 customers across July impacted and our on-time performance impacted by that.
New business class lie-flat seats are coming to narrow-body Airbus 321 XLRs, plus a new batch of Boeing 787s will have refreshed interiors too. These will help replace the popular but expensive A380 being retired from 2028 a few years early.
The A380s are 4 engines, where the new aircraft will have 2, and of course the new aircraft are going to be able to fly from Sydney to London and Sydney to New York direct, where the A380 just can't do that.
We can expect Jetstar's revenue to increase when it starts charging for the use of overhead luggage bins in February. Shareholders will also be happy with today's announcement, scoring a $300 million dividend.
Blake Johnson. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have quietly touched down in the UK after packing up their lives in California. The Sussexes are believed to be settling in the Cotswolds with their children. Isabel Mullen has more from London.
Well, Harry and Meghan have managed to fly under the radar, landing at Birmingham Airport. The media none the wiser. We do have these aerial shots to show you, though, of their private jet sitting there on the runway. They made that 15-hour journey from California to the UK earlier today. Their kids, Archie and Lilibet, with them ahead of the English school term starting next week. They are believed to have then made their way to the Cotswolds. We understand that's where they may be living. They do have a number of friends there. It's where Meghan celebrated her hens party. They will be among many other famous faces, including the likes of the Beckhams and Simon Cowell. Meghan expected to reignite her acting work, reportedly in talks with Guy Ritchie about starring in his Netflix series The Gentleman. There were those conflicting reports about whether that will happen. We now understand it is still on the cards. Harry expected to expand his charity work. When the kids do go back to school next week, we won't expect that fanfare that we normally see around other royal kids, like those milestone photos that are released. This really will be a private family affair. There's been no comment from the palace, but the king is said to be very excited to spend more time with his grandchildren.
Tim Curry, the actor who made Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Show a worldwide cult figure, has died after a long illness. The 80-year-old labelled iconic by an Australian who starred alongside him in the show's very first performance 53 years ago.
I'm just a sweet transvestite. Tim Curry was Dr. Frankenfurter, the first star of the Rocky Horror Show. He was responsible for the outfit, the accent, everything.
After I did Rocky Horror, which was one part in drag, you know what I was offered? The Brooke Shields part in Blue Lagoon.
At 20, Sydney singer Nell Campbell starred alongside Curry at the very first performance in 1973.
Spun around on stage, flung off his big cape, and there he was in fishnet pearl stilettos and a corset. He blew everyone's mind, and everyone in that audience, men and women, just worshipped him right away, and it was like that every single night.
Curry went on to star as the nosy concierge in Home Alone 2.
A limousine and a pizza, compliments of the Plaza Hotel.
As Long John Silver in The Muppets Treasure Island, and most famously as Pennywise, the murderous clown.
I, Georgie, am Pennywise, the dancing clown.
In the TV series of Stephen King's It.